everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Next Big Thing Canada's podcast. Thank you for joining in. My name is Swarna, and today I have a very special guest with me, someone I'm super excited to talk to. You've seen him in Battlestar Galactica, Supernatural, Flash, Star Trek Beyond, and now he will be next seen in Corrective Measures with Bruce Willis and Michael Rooker, slated to go on air on April 29th. Please welcome an amazing actor, an amazing talent, Dan Payne.
Hi, thank you so much.
Welcome to the show, Dan.
Thank you. That was a heck of an intro. I appreciate it.
Oh, so thank you so much for being here, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Dan, my first question to you is that before we start talking about your journey to the entertainment industry and your awesome career, our viewers and listeners would like to know who Dan Payne is.
Oh, wow. Currently, I'm very happy to I'm a dad. I'm a husband and a dad. And I've got two young boys, 13 and 10, Elijah and Grayson, and an incredibly supportive and awesome wife. And my primary job is dad and husband. And I get to run around and be a goof and an actor as a secondary. But yeah, I'm pretty much a regular guy. I coach my kids' sports. I help them with their homework, and it's scary how hard it is in grade 8 already. Very scary. A lot of it is like, yeah, let's Google that because Dad does not know. But yeah, I'm just having fun being a dad and hanging out and continuing to chase this dream. So
wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for answering that. Congratulations, though, on Corrective Measures. I watched the trailer and it's hugely captivating. So I just wanted to ask you, tell us about the film and your journey and your character Payback. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I'm so thank you. I'm so honored to be a part of this film, and it's a graphic novel turned into a live action movie, and Sean Patrick O'Reilly at the helm. He's the one that's connected to the graphic novel. And then he wrote, executive produced, and directed the film. And what an incredibly collaborative, beautiful genius of a soul. With him at the top of the pile, the tone was set for us to have a really good time whilst beating the living daylights out of each other. On set, on camera, on purpose, not behind the scenes. So yeah, it's a story about a pulse, an electromagnetic pulse that goes over the world and gives people, it's a radiation. So it gives some people acute radiation sickness. It kills some, it mutates others, and it gives a lot of people powers. And obviously with powers, there's good and evil, and the bad guys end up in this maximum penitentiary prison, which is where the story kind of takes place. And Payback is an ex-military man who suffers a tragedy that puts him on a vigilante spree of revenge against particularly one criminal, but that happens pretty quick. And then he decides he wants to rid the world of all criminals. And where better to do that than in a prison? So it gets messy when he gets there.
Right, right. So tell me, how was it working with Bruce Willis and Michael Rooker?
When you start out, you're never sure where your career will go, and you have some dreams and hope. Well, I didn't know that because Bruce Willis, I've been a huge fan since the beginning of time. And I've said this every interview. He defined cool for me. Like, he was the moonlighting, rogue, swashbuckling, charming smartass. Yeah. And I love that. Like, that's such an incredibly intoxicating personality. So that was a dream I didn't even know I could have. And then Michael Rooker, I always describe him as the sweetest kind of crazy. My kids were so excited. Like, Dad, can we meet Yondu from Guardians? Yeah. Yes, you can. So to work with those two guys was just an absolute bucket list that I didn't know I had. A bucket list thing I didn't know I had on the list. And it was every bit as amazing as you could imagine. Bruce Willis is gracious and kind, and he's been doing it a minute. So he just was, it was interesting to watch when I wasn't supposed to be paying attention, and just watch how at ease and how easy things were for him. Still brilliant and full, but just easy. And Michael Rooker is just a creative. He's like, you just don't know what you're going to get. And I love that. There's a wild side to him. You just don't know, like, roll the dice. You never know what you're going to get. So it keeps you on your toes. And I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and I loved being there. So just dream come true. to be honest.
Awesome, awesome. I saw your Instagram post where I saw your kids interacting with Michael Rooker at the premiere. So how was it? I mean, did they have fun? I'm sure they're very proud of you.
I mean, I'm always trying to be, the cool dad in some way, shape, or form. I want my kids to think dad's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's hard work. It's hard work.
Yeah,
even with
I can imagine.
yeah, even with Disney Descendants, I thought, here we go. I'm going to be.
Yeah.
Not as much as I thought, like their friends would come up like, you, the beast from Descendants. I'm like, oh, thank you. Yeah, I am. And my kids are like, yeah, it's just dad. No, they've been really cool. They're very supportive. And they loved, I mean, I think when you do it I've been doing it their whole life. So it's not, it loses its magic in a not in a bad way. It just isn't as like they're more excited to meet Michael Rooker and Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy. So more than like, oh, Dad, that's what you do. Like when you go to work, that's what you do. So they're very supportive and they're very proud of me. And this movie isn't quite in their wheelhouse for their age group, but I want them to see what Dad does. So yeah, they're very proud. It's interesting to watch it's interesting to see my career through their eyes. I'll just tell you that.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. It's wonderful. So, I mean, you've done some remarkable work. I mean, you've had an extraordinary journey. You've played volleyball, you've lived abroad, you've traveled countries. So, and now you're an actor. So tell me, how did you find your calling?
Well, a bit nomadic to begin with, as my parents we moved 16 times, I think, before I was 17.
Oh, wow.
And that included like different houses in different towns. My dad's a workaholic, and he just would get promoted because he worked his butt off. And that kind of gave me the nomadic, like, seek things out, go chase your dreams type of a feel or desire. My brother as well. My brother lives in Australia. He's never been back to Canada to visit, but living for 20 years. So the door's always open for sports for me. And I thought, wow, what a cool way to see the world if I can get there. And I happened to get there, and I ended up playing in Holland. And I fell in love with performing, something that I love doing, in front of a crowd. That immediate response from the demand of performance was quite intoxicating. And when I retired from sport, my brother was doing a photographic company, or building it in the Whitsundays in Australia. And I called him. I'm like, hey, I'm retiring from volleyball. I don't know what to do now. He's like, all right, come join me. We'll build this company together. And we created shows, and I ended up going on stage, and we had a lot of fun. And I fell in love with that same kind of demand for performance with an audience response. And it built from there. And I think it's a performance-based thing. I enjoy, I guess, not the stress, it's not the right word, but I enjoy the demand of performance and the challenge to forever be at the front edge of something and be, I guess, on. I don't know. I love this job. I can tell you this much. I absolutely love this job.
Fantastic. And that's very, very inspiring. Dan, what would be the biggest lesson that you took? I mean, you have like so many credits to your name. So one particular event or lesson that you took from any of the characters that you've played?
Ooh, not so much the characters, I don't think, but I know that. So the sporting background that I had created this, never give up, get up one more time, then you get knocked down mentality. And that if you love and desire something enough and push hard enough, you will find success, as long as you deem success as moving forward towards your goal. So I guess the one thing I learned was to never deem success to be one way far out there end goal. That can be the dream, but the incremental achievements on that journey for me equated to success. So getting accepted to a school or a class for acting, getting an agent, getting good headshots, getting an audition, those are all successes that I deemed necessary for me to feel successful and continue to get going. And every no that I got was just a reminder to keep, learning and growing and being better so that I can get that yes. It's a tough industry. It's a lot of no, like from agents, from rejection, from auditions.
Oh, yes.
critics, whatever, what have you. There's a lot of no, but belief in self and having a great support system, which I do, has been incredible. And just passion's the fuel. And
Yeah.
I just continue to drive towards it, get up one more time, then I get knocked down. That's my brother and I always reminded each other, no matter how hard things are, if you love it enough and you want it enough, get up one more time and keep going.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I also wanted to ask you about when any one character that you played that still holds a very special, it's very special to you and you still think about it.
Yeah, I got to Ivan Hayden, a friend of mine now. We got to work together on a web series called Divine, the series, and I got to play an immortal. And Ivan and his team had this incredible story laid out, like unbelievable story. And I was so excited to have this story flesh out. And we did 6 episodes, I believe, on the web series, in the hopes of it becoming a TV series. And it didn't quite make it, but I think that's why it holds such a place for me, is that there was so much potential for it to be an incredible journey. And we did have an amazing amount of fun filming it. But just the prospect of it becoming more, and then maybe it just not quite getting there, is what's got a hold on me, because I've always wanted to have that story play out. And then another one was Devil in the Dark. Did a thriller, a brother story about a supernatural entity trying to enter the world, and we were kind of the last bastion before it would escape. And we go on a hunting trip, and things go sideways. But that story, that film, I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed doing it, making it, and watching it. But it was such a collaborative experience for the first time, where I felt comfortable and confident in what I was doing, and also welcomed in the creative process to shape not only my character, but how the story arcs and characters grew throughout. And it made me want to become more involved in producing and possibly one day directing, because I could see all of those elements coming together, because I was invited to and welcomed to be a part of it. Yeah. Obviously they filtered it through what they needed, but it was nice to be a part of the conversation.
Oh, that's excellent. Dan, so I believe Corrective Measures is going to release on Tubi.
Correct.
So, and I think, and this is something that, pandemic has basically enforced on us, where, from theaters, everything is now on the digital platform. How does it feel to be a digital age actor? I mean, is it different? Is it the same?
So in my life, I was trying to look for the positives. And I think the digital age has allowed for a greater demand for content.
Yes.
And with that, there's a greater opportunity for stories to be told. And some of them may be previously marginalized or forgotten or negated stories due to the sort of narrow bandwidth of the bigger Hollywood core and theater release. Has allowed for a greater opportunity for creatives to have their voice and tell their stories and create movies. And for actors and for people who want to, like myself, want to produce, there's more demand for content and opportunities for people to collaborate and create that stuff. So I think in the digital age, it might be, I see it as a benefit for all. Just the stories, the opportunities for the outlets of more to happen is incredible.
Right. Another topic that I feel that the pandemic has kind of just put on us is mental health, wellness. And you've been a tremendous advocate of mental health, wellness.
Thanks.
I mean, Dan, there are good things happening where, the good news is that people are coming out and talking more about their struggles. But the bad thing is that the stress is just increasing. So, as someone who has battled depression, tell us about how you cope and how has it been for you?
It's everybody's journey is a very individual and unique one, and I can only speak to mine, and I hope that it resonates or helps somebody. The greatest thing I did finally, I hid for years and I wanted to hide. And there's such a stigma that I felt that I had to hide. And I didn't want to be seen as broken, and I didn't want to be seen as lesser, because that was already my sense of self-worth and image. And I was fearful of the external. So much so that I didn't want to say anything. And the greatest thing that I finally got around to doing, and I don't know how to get there for people. I don't know how to help them get there, except to say that on the other side of telling someone that you care about, someone that you can trust and love and know loves you, I think the world shifted enough where there's going to be a welcome listening, like they will hear you. And to be able to unburden yourself with that solo journey that for me anyway, that I was hiding from, it afforded me the opportunity to feel not alone. And that in itself gave me a strength to kind of, and I always say this, like, I wasn't driving the bus, depression was driving my bus. And all I was trying to do was interrupt it enough to stay on the road. And telling my wife was the first person that I admitted it to, because I got to a very, very dark place. And she was there for me, and she didn't know what to do, and she didn't know how to help, but that's not the point. Like I know that I was so, I guess, ashamed and hated this place that I was in, that I just wanted it to be fixed. I didn't want it to be something that I told somebody and then I was judged for, and then I was seen as different or lesser, or, justified in my feeling broken. That when I told her and she said, "It's okay, we'll figure this out," that sense of someone seeing me for who I truly am and being able to be authentic enough to know that I'm not broken, I'm just dealing with something that others are dealing with, and that it's okay. I'm not the broken toy that you throw away, was incredible. So to start talking about it, to be able to start talking about it and open up about it, because that spiral in my head that I was going on solo dark journeys over and over again, and that created this complete perpetual negative self-talk, and it perpetuated itself. Like, I had no external voice to give me reason or to give me a sense of anything other than the crap that I was creating in my own head. And to be able to see it for I hope it's okay to say, the crap that it is and was, because I don't like it, and I don't want to be there. And it's not like I did feel like I chose to be there because of who I am being broken. But if it is a choice, even if it isn't a choice, I can choose to try and do things to make it better. And I'm sorry to go on about this, but
no, of course, please.
It was a really difficult, and it still is difficult, effort. You have to put in the effort, but I didn't know where to put in the effort. So I've told my wife, and now I can talk to her about it. And in talking to her about it and feeling okay about it, I'm getting to the point where I can talk to my kids about it, because my biggest fear is that they are in the situation I was without feeling like they can talk about it. And I go to talk therapy, and I see a naturopath to help me with supplements and adjusting and balancing things. But for me, it's about, I have to apply that sports mentality, applying that drive to take a step, whatever it is, even if it's the tiniest step ever, towards mental health for me. And that can be like, don't touch my phone for a half hour in the morning. Because, the pandemic and the stuff that's going on in the world, and the way that, and I don't want to get into it, but the way that the news kind of perpetuates the darkness, if I can leave that alone for a half hour, wake up and just be very present with my wife, my kids, and myself, then I can find enough fortitude that if I do turn on my phone and I do stumble into that, what I would say is negativity, it's not the start of my day, and it doesn't set the tone for the day. And I try and catch myself with self-talk and negative, I like the premiere. I was like, oh God, I hope I don't suck or ruin this film. Like, that's, instead of like seeing it as, oh my goodness, what an opportunity, I got to work with so-and-so and this is going to be so great. I was so worried I was going to screw it up for everybody. And I couldn't enjoy it till I had seen it, to know that I hopefully didn't bury this film for all these incredible people that I got to, it's just the negative self-talk is so ingrained that I have to catch it now and learn But I never would have all these things that I'm talking about, I never would have even embarked on changing them in any way, shape, or form if I hadn't had or found the opportunity to tell someone. And so I hope the world has shifted enough, and I feel like it has, that if you do tell someone, that you'll be welcomed enough to feel that sharing is okay, and then therefore find avenues to help your journey towards a better mental health. I talked a lot there, and I don't know. I get caught up in it. It's still fairly new for me, and it's tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough situation, and I hope just by talking about it that I'm helping. So I don't know if that answered your question. I don't know if I just rambled on, but
No, of course, no. Thank you so much for answering that. I mean, it's very inspiring, and thank you so much for answering that.
My pleasure.
My next question to you would be, as someone who uses their platform to destigmatize mental health, do you think that mental health for men, I mean, is it still being heard? Do people still relate the same way? Do they still empathize the same way that they do for women? Or is it still stigmatized?
That's a really interesting. That's a great question. I mean, I can't speak to how how it affects women, or how speaking about it with women. I believe that women have been better at conversation and at talking about things, I think, than men, because I think there is still some residual stigma about men having to be a strong provider, and real men don't cry. And I have to believe that it's gotten better, and I have to believe that things are changing, and I can only but advocate for what I'm going through, and being that I am a man who is battling depression and learning that I will speak to it from that place. Is it harder? I think depression and anxiety and any kind of mental health is hard for anybody. I think it's incredibly hard for anybody, no matter what your background history. Like, it's going to be difficult. There is still stigma for it, for mental health alone. And I think it's just different. I think for men it's different because there's a preconceived notion of what a man is supposed to be, and how you're not allowed to be weak or cry or suck it up. But for women, you're supposed to be certain things that society would deem, and you would feel the pressures of those things. Or certain religions would put a horrible pressure on people to be a certain way, and not allow you to have the voice to say, I'm not okay. And I think for me, mental health, the stigmas that apply to anybody in any situation who's struggling, to break those stigmas down, to be able to just say, hey, I'm okay, and then find out that it's okay to not be okay. That's a lot of okays. That's what matters. And if talking about it for me, from my perspective as a man who's dealing with what I feel and how I'm being affected with my depression, and what I feel are the pressures I have to not, due to the stigmas that I think exist for me, I hope talking about those helps anybody in any situation with whatever stigma they are feeling, pressuring them to keep quiet or denying them a journey towards mental health. I hope that talking about it breaks those down, if that helps.
Thank you. Thank you so much for answering that. Thank you. Then I think you may have answered this question a lot, but what is your definition of success?
I love your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
So success for me is to be able to love what I'm doing, to find joy in whatever it is I'm doing. And in order to do that for me personally, it's to set incremental goals. No matter where I'm at, I want to forever be learning, growing, and achieving new things. And if I set goals that are achievable, to hopefully get to goals that are maybe less achievable, to that next one, which is the dream one, then I'm being successful. Every step towards my big dream means success. And success also can include having a support system that no matter where you are, like, some of those goals are difficult to get to. Sometimes it takes a lot longer to get that little tiny step forward because it's a tough industry. And whatever industry you're in, if you can set those goals and you have the people around you to help encourage you to keep going and find not only the strength to keep going, but the education, information, and the knowledge and wisdom from people who might, like getting coaching for me or going to classes or picking the brains of those people who are where I want to be. Those are important things for me to help continue to be successful. And that's in my career.
Awesome.
For me as a dad, husband, that's just about listening as best I can to them to make sure that I'm on the right path.
Fab. Fantastic. My final question to you, Dan, is any message that you'd like to give to the young and aspiring actors who look up to you for motivation?
Let me see. Don't let this industry judge you. Go on this journey for your own reasons, knowing that it's a difficult one. Make sure that the passion fuels you to wake up and tackle every audition and every challenge with joy. Mm-hmm. If it's a stress or a negativity, then you might have to change your attack. But yeah, so don't let the industry judge you. Let you be always the judge of your journey. And as long as it's something that's giving you joy and bringing you and create success, create opportunities for success for yourself.
Wonderful.
I think that's the best I can do. I have a bit of jet lag, I have to admit, and I appreciate. Hopefully, I've been as present as needed. But I was in Australia for
of course.
2 days last week. I don't know why, but
oh wow,
yeah, that's a long way to go for 2 days.
No, of course. Thank you so much. I mean, you've added like a huge value to our conversation. I'm deeply honored to have you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
And I hope we can have you back sometime very soon. And I wish you all the best.
I would love that.
Successes and your endeavors.
Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to our conversation today. I've been speaking with Dan Payne. This is Swarna for Next Big Thing. Thank you so much.